call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Ms. Angie Osterman, Justin Allen,
Here.
Eduardo Quiroga,
Here.
Melissa Amici,
Here.
Cristina Davila,
Here.
Teresa Fonseca,
Here.
Juan Herrera, Mark Gonzalez, and Michelle Romani.
Present.
For the record, Madam Chair, you do have quorum.
We'll have a motion to open the first item
Oh, no, we have 4 minutes, we don't have a motion.
for the meetings, okay. Then, has everybody looked at the meeting, at the minutes of the meeting of September 13th? Yes.
Okay, let me see.
Alejandrina, I was here at the meeting, but I was asked to step out because the item,
I know,
yeah,
but
but
that's
it
one of
wasn't
the
noted.
things that we're gonna discuss, because I
Okay.
can,
okay.
Okay, I do have one, on item number 6, for the adjourn portion, my name got misspelled, I am now the country of Romania. So,
noted, ma'am.
Do I have a motion?
okay, I move to approve the minutes with that correction.
Second?
I wasn't here, but second.
That was already second, okay, yes, aye.
We have a motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The
Minutes are approved
minutes
with
approved.
correction.
Item 4, citizen comments. Alejandrina, whether it's any sign,
No citizen comments, no card
No.
received.
then we go to item number 5, public hearing and consideration. Do I have a motion to open the next item?
Okay,
So moved.
which one are we doing, A or B?
A?
Okay, I
Ms.
think at this
Fonseca.
point you have to step down.
Okay, I will.
She reads the item. You
She'll read the item.
recuse.
So I'll be back after this item. Okay,
I'll wait for her to.
I'll step away because of a conflict of interest and pass the chairman to Ms.
Vice
Romano.
Chair.
Okay. Yes, it's the code of ethics. Okay. Item 5, letter A, new improvements to existing structures, improvements to building B, Parish Center, location all block 10, Western Division, commonly known as 214 San Bernardo, property owner Diocese of Laredo, Bishop James A. Tamayo, owner applicant, representative, Hickey Peña Architects and Rick Solis, Historic District, San Agustin de Laredo Historic District, Historic District Via San Agustin de Laredo, National Register of Historic Places, HDLB 09-2019. Is there a motion to open up public hearing for HDLB 01-2019?
I move to open a public hearing.
Okay, is there a second? All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, there's no opposition. The public hearing is open, and I invite the applicant to come forward.
Good evening, Rick Solis, principal with Hickey Peña Architects. We've prepared a presentation for you all this evening to go over the items that we're asking for review of. I'm going to hand it off to Mr. Mario Peña to kind of go through those items.
Thank you, Rick. This is Victor. our project manager for the project too. He'll help us answer some questions if we need to. So this is, I believe it's Mario Peña for the record. I don't know if I've said that before. I believe this is the second time we're here on this project or a group of elements that include this project. As you know, we're undergoing construction now for the preparation of this building, which is we're calling it the St. Augustine Parish Center now. It's formerly known as the St. Augustine Parochial School. I'll go back a few years. In the 2014 master plan of the cathedral campus, this building is slated to become a conference center for the cathedral, for the diocese to use as sustainable income for the continuing maintenance and upkeep of the preserved cathedral once the cathedral has been preserved and rehabilitated. So this is just one of the steps to get there, which is a preparation of the auditorium space to be used as a temporary worship space while the cathedral undergoes the preservation and rehabilitation. So right now, in order to get parishioners to be able to celebrate Mass while the cathedral is out of commission, we're having to make some preparations inside the building.
When is that when are they moving from the cathedral to the?
As soon as we're done with the construction of this project that we're presenting now, what is the most recent time frame that we have?
Yeah, they need to finish
Let them finish their presentation, and then we can ask questions, maybe that we answered along the way.
It's up to you.
Understood.
Early.
Thank you.
So we're working with a contractor to hopefully finish in early December,
Okay.
so that by mid-December it should be ready to be used.
Okay, the reason I ask this is so that way we can get a better sense of the urgency to do this.
There is, yes, great urgency here. Yeah, as you know, the income of parishes and dioceses, one of the primary methods of income is the collection at masses. So every weekend that they can't have a mass, they're out that income. So it's important for us to finish it as quick as time as possible. One important thing to note is that in the overall master plan, this building is going to have the function. It's going to be fully restored as well in the future as funding comes in, as fundraising campaign kicks off for that particular portion of the project. Everything we did to prepare the space right now for the use as a temporary worship space is aligned with future improvements. So, for example, we're configuring all of the ductwork inside the building so that we can expose the beautiful tin ceilings that are in the auditorium, the ceilings that are in the classrooms. So we've devised a way really by turning the ductwork vertically and doing chases on the vertical side. We eliminate the need for horizontal ductwork that is a eyesore for these ceiling heights all throughout the building. So we're able to eliminate all of the horizontal ductwork. And so part of what we're asking here tonight is some impact to the exterior to make that happen on the interior. But we think it's minimal, and so we hope you agree with our solution. So we'll go here bit by bit. This is just the current exterior conditions. As you can see, we're just looking at all the facades here. This is just part of the application process where we're including all the existing facades. You might not be able to see it here too closely, but I'm sure you all are familiar with the building. The building is riddled with gutters, haphazardly built through the years, because they've been repairs, emergency repairs through the years have sort of piled up. A lot of conduits are out there. Again, just as the building has been repaired through the years, there really hasn't been a full campaign to do the improvements in a comprehensive way and in a clean way for the outside, to improve the outside. So the overall outcome of this is to clean up all of the conduit, all of the unnecessary mechanical and electrical items that are on the outside, to clean them up completely. So overall, it will be restored, right, to a state that is more dignified. So this is just going through item A and B of the application, addition of copper line and condenser and architectural louvers. So the location is here on the north side of the facade. Here's a picture of it. Right now, a lot of the windows are boarded up, as you may know, with these provisional plywoods. Some of these window elements are going to turn into some fresh air intake and other sort of mechanical needs. So we're replacing this provisional plywood with a louver that occupies one section of the window, for example, which you see in item A and B. That's item B, sorry. Item A is a copper line that we're introducing here to the bottom, which you can't see because the site wall's in the way. It's really something that is hidden. Right, so that's item A and B. I guess I'll take questions here of this particular item if you have any.
Okay, just so I can get a sense, behind that, is that the stairwell portion?
There's a bathroom and
Okay, the
an AV closet, basically.
Okay.
And so there is some mechanical systems that are in there, so that we need to get some fresh air intake for.
And I guess the idea too, by using the louvers is so that we don't have to make new penetrations in the existing brick wall.
Okay. I was a little bit concerned because one of the photographs included in our packet showed somebody taking a brick out. And so I'm wondering if that work wasn't begun without a permit, so to speak, or.
Well, yeah,
Kinda put the
we'll
cart
talk about
before
that
the
in a bit.
horse.
Yes, yeah, as you know, well, I might as well tackle it now.
That particular one that's in the photograph, we stopped them and they repaired it, so it's no longer there.
Okay, but just as a
Yeah.
caution to know that, you know.
Sure, of course, of course.
And I think part of what happened was when that happened, that spurred us to say stop, and we submitted to come and present to you guys tonight.
Okay.
Right. So here again, more louvers replacing plywood in the building. This is on the back side. This is on the alley side. So this is not seen from the street. This is a historically significant facade, according to the Department of Interior. It's not seen.
Just out of curiosity, what color will the louvers be? Because I know you're shading them red, but.
Well, we're illustrating here in red so you can see the outline of it.
We want to match the window frame.
I was talking to Christine, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
We're going to match the window frame color
Okay.
with them. Yeah. And so then that color will be coordinated all the way around. Again, going back, eventually this will be a full restoration of the building, including a full campaign to restore all of the historic windows throughout. So all of this will be coordinated with one matching color all the way around.
Okay.
Again, more locations. These are copper line penetrations. Again, this is in the alleyway that is not visible from the street. There and there. Some of these are just replacements of lines that are there now. We just wanted to make sure you all knew that. We're reusing the penetration. The lines are the ones that are replaced. This is emergency lighting that during the construction process, the fire department asked us to add. This is the fire marshal's interpretation of the fire code, and so we're having to add these emergency lights
Okay.
at the outside of the stairwells.
All right. I know that in the past applicants have brought the letter. Do y'all have the letter from the fire department? Just to include it, just so we can have that.
We have the letter, yeah, we have the letter from where they denied our permit initially stating that we needed to have these emergency lights. So you
Okay.
can submit that to
Okay.
you all.
This is just the light we're suggesting, and the locations of each of the lights over egress doorways. And we don't have much room to wiggle here with the fire department. This is a conduit. We are having to go through from the cathedral to the parish center. This conduit will carry all the communication lines for the KHOY transmission of the mass. We did find a good place for it. Previously, this board approved the addition of this canopy that you see here in the rendering. So this conduit will just be on top of the canopy. You won't be able to see it. It'll be placed in the middle of the canopy. We're penetrating right a few inches above the canopy itself, and the line will just go through, so you won't be able to see it. It'll be above the canopy. Okay, so then this is probably the most significant portion of the application. So this in order to accommodate for the HVAC without intruding into the structural integrity of the building, some of these ducts have to penetrate the wall and then penetrate the roof. So it's a transfer duct from an exterior wall to a roof, all right, to transfer air from one floor to the next. And so these are located, again, in the building that faces the rectory. In the facade that faces the rectory does not face the street. So it's that location H on the back side of the building on the 3rd floor. And these are elevations of the same. I don't know if you can see it a little more clearly there. But the penetrations are up on the top where the gable roof is. They're signaled, so there's ductwork, and we would be covering the ductwork. You'll see a rendering in a minute. There's a circular duct that goes outside the building and penetrates the roof, and then that is covered with, we're proposing for that to be covered with a standing seam metal roof to then match the standing seam roofs that are everywhere else. So we're covering that ductwork. And then down below in red, behind the parapet of the 2nd floor, those are mechanical units that would be there in the future. Those mechanical units won't be there now. We just want approval for them because when the project again becomes a full restoration, then we'll need to add those HVAC air handlers. If you remember from last time, the strategy here to remove all of the condenser units around the building for the mechanical systems, we're consolidating them into one chilled water plant, which is across the street. When that happens, when this building is tied into this chilled water system, then the interior air handlers that are there now that we're reusing at the moment will then be removed, and then we'll add these new chilled water air handler units up on the roof. Again, this is going to liberate the space on the inside so that we can get a historic restoration of the interior spaces as well. It's a good balance. You can't see them from the outside because they're behind the parapet. Again, this is just the same location, now in a section. And then this is a rendering. As you can see, should I walk over so I can point?
Yeah.
This is the existing standing seam roof, and then these are the transfer ducts coming in. And again, we're covering it with standing seam. To blend in with the standing seam there. And you can't see it from the street. There's one corner, I think on Grant, where you can see a little bit corner of it, but otherwise you can't see it. There it is. So this is a rendering, and you can see we modeled it in there at the end. Those parts. That's the only place you can see it. So just so you know, for full disclosure, because you mentioned it earlier about beginning, as you know, this board wasn't able to meet last time. This item was set to be presented to the board at that moment. We're undergoing the construction right now. The contractor was going to be delayed by an entire month if we had not continued the work. So we instructed the contractor to begin removing the brick and saving it. So in case this board didn't see fit to continue as our approach tells us, then we would be prepared to put the brick back. We do implore you, and we hope you agree with the fact that this is the only means to get this done, and that it is as least obtrusive as possible. All right, so we're prepared for either condition, but again, if we can't do it this way, then the full restoration of the interior will practically be impossible in the way that we think it needs to be. Again, this being not a historically significant facade per se, and again, we saw it as a low risk.
Are there any questions from anybody?
Mr. Bennett, you said that this wasn't even visible from the street side or anything like that, correct? Basically, you would have to fly a
Well,
drone in order
we
to
do
see
have this,
this.
you can see just the top of the standing seam
Right.
roof of these covers,
Mhm.
just like you see in this rendering.
Okay.
That's as much as you can see.
Great, and it's a like you said, a non-historical,
So a few feet over and a few feet back, you can't see it.
perfect, okay, thank you.
Yeah, you really have to look for it.
To look for it, that's what I thought, thank you.
Are there any other questions? All right, is there a motion to close the public hearing on, that's not oh, yeah. Mr. Cardwell, if you want, come forward and introduce yourself to the board for the record?
Yes, I would like to, if you don't mind.
Yes, of course.
For the record, my name is David Cardwell, and good evening, board, and thank you for letting the public have an opportunity to come before you. And I come here as a citizen and as a community advocate, more especially the downtown area, because I remember the downtown when it was very vibrant back in the late 60s and early 70s when I came here in the Air Force. I would like to see it return to that glory day someday soon. But I wanted to come and talk about this one because I think this is probably part of, if I could use the word puzzle, many different pieces of the puzzle downtown. Outlets, the conference center, whatever happens to it, if it comes back and has a new life or not, what they're doing at the cathedral and this building here. And I think all of that is like pieces of the puzzle. And I think it's all very important. And so anyway, as a taxpayer and an advocate, I just wanted to come up and say a few things. This building, as we're looking at here, what they're talking about, and if I could just talk about this one slide that's up here now. As I heard Mr. Pena mention, this is what you would see. But if you would notice the direction, and I'm not presenting his case, I just happen to notice it, if you don't mind me saying it. If you notice the car, which way is the direction the car driving? It's a one-way street to the east. So the only way you're going to probably see that is when you're walking. You're probably not going to be able to see it in that other direction. But anyway, the reason I wanted to come up here and speak this evening is it's not listed on the agenda, but it really should be listed on the agenda. It's our mother church. It's the mother church of the Diocese of Laredo. It is our cathedral. And the reason I say that is just what Mr. Pena said. It's an urgency here. It's part of the overall construction, as I have heard, that's going to be done at the cathedral. And with that mother church, if we want to back up and say, well, this building affects that construction, what does that do to the mother church? Well, the mother church has 345,000 members in the mother church, spread over 7 counties in South Texas. Its roots are traced back to 1775 to the founder of Laredo. So even though this may not be an historic building, that hallowed land there and the cathedral, all of this together is the package. I know you only have before you the building, but that's how I sort of wanted to lay that out, because out of the 345,000 members, you've got 32 parishes and 17 missions in the 7 counties that call this their mother church, the cathedral. So my message to y'all, based upon everything, when you look at the whole package from about 50,000 feet elevation, I would urge, encourage that this honorable board here approve this item so Mr. Pena and the diocese can continue with this work so it will not stop and delay what's going on with this particular building and with the whole project as I've read and studied it. And that's why I wanted to come here before y'all and talk in the public with y'all about it. I thank you for honoring me and allowing me to speak. Thank you.
Are there any questions at all for Mr. Pena or his team?
No.
Okay, is there a motion to close?
Ms. Romani, you have
Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
something else.
Please come forward and state your name for the record.
Thank you, City Councilman. My name is George Cursai Montalvo, and I received this notification. We own the property on 808 Grand Street, and I was trying to find out what is the meaning between, as far as the radius of the 200 feet. How is that going to affect the property? Or I should say our property.
Okay, you're across this,
I can answer that question.
Okay.
That's what state law, every time we receive an application, we send notices to every property owner within 200 radius.
Okay.
And your property happens to be within that 200 radius,
Can
and
you say
that's
it
why,
again, please? I don't understand.
by state law,
Right.
the city.
Oh, state law, okay.
Yes, it's a state
All right.
law.
And that's gonna increase
That's why we
ours.
send the notices to the
All right.
property owners within only that
But did you
radius.
say that that's gonna increase our taxes?
No, no, sir,
Okay.
not at
Okay.
all.
All right.
It's just for you to be aware what's happening on your neighborhood.
Oh, totally agree with that. Okay, is that it then?
Yes, sir.
I apologize then, thank you.
No problem. You're welcome.
before I entertain a motion to close public hearing, is there anybody else, in the audience who wishes to say something about this project? All right, is there a motion to close HDLB 012019?
So moved.
And a second?
A second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Is there any need for discussion at this point? No? Okay, do I hear a motion to approve, the new improvements to the existing structure to Building B, the parish center of, San Agustin Cathedral?
So moved. Oh,
Okay, who made the motion first? Okay,
doesn't,
are you seconding it?
I'm seconding.
All right, all those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
One abstention.
Pardon?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, so then we have, 4 ayes and 1 abstention. And the motion is approved.
Do we
So
do
you don't
score?
have 5 to make the motion?
Pardon? Oh, we don't have, we have 5,
that's the.
Yeah, but he's abstaining, so he's not
so then we can't
voting
vote.
on it.
I don't think that's how.
No,
That's why she recused herself also. Are you recusing,
Choosing not to.
Mr. Quiroga?
what's that?
You're recusing from this?
Yeah,
item?
I'm abstaining from the vote.
Then you need to leave the room and you lose quorum to make the motion. We need 5.
But
Make a
there's,
motion.
give me if 3 members vote for,
4 voted.
well,
for.
yeah, as an example, and 1 votes no, then what happens to that? The motion still passes because there's a majority.
We need 5 board members. What I'm saying is when one of the board members recuses, they leave the room. That's why I miss.
He's not recusing, he's abstaining.
I'm
You're
abstaining,
just
I'm
abstaining.
I'm
Okay.
abstaining the vote, so there's,
That is your vote.
There's
my
still a
understanding
quorum.
that there would be a majority.
So
Yeah.
there's
There's still a quorum because,
for
it's as though,
1.
Yeah,
it's as though you were voting something else.
it's actually it's not 4-1, it's
It's,
Okay.
4-0-1.
Yeah,
right,
401.
it's an abstention. It's-
All right, that being the case, then, the motion carries. I do have a follow-up question, just a question. Did you all ever get a letter from, the Texas Historical Commission that we had asked for the previous project?
No, we haven't. We're preparing a full report to the Texas Historic Commission as part of our historic tax credit application. And so we're reaching out to them as soon as we're done with that. So we're about 70% done with all of
Okay.
that, because we're putting it all everything together in one letter, so they see the full picture all at once.
Okay, because that was one of the,
Understood, yes, and that work won't be done unless we get that. That's what the previous motion stated. So we're still, I want to say, at least 4 months away from that particular portion of the work to be ready to be done. So we have a little bit of time, and we're taking advantage of that time to make sure we get that cleared out with a tax credit.
okay,
All right.
all right, Thank
Thank
you,
you.
gentlemen, for your time, and thank you, audience, for your questions and your comments.
Item B, do I have a motion
Okay,
to open?
Read the item, please.
The new improvements at existing structure, new mural, location lots 8, 9, 10, block 70, Western Division, commonly known as 1219 Matamoros Street. Property owner Laredo Central Plaza LLC, Tomas Izaguirre Jr., owner applicant. Representative, City of Laredo, Maria Solis, Public Libraries Director, and Sandra Gonzalez, artist. Historic landmark locally designated historic landmarks, Sames Moore Building, AKA Rialto Hotel. HDLB 02 2019.
Do I have a motion to open public hearing?
Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I move to open public hearing HDLB 02-2019.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The public hearing is open.
Madam Chair, we have Ms. Solis, the Public Libraries Director, right here. Introduce yourself for the record, please. Ms.
Good evening. My name is Sandra Gonzalez. Thanks for the opportunity to present El Abrazo mural to you. I have been painting murals for the past 5 years, and I have 2 master's degree in art. I obtained my latest master's degree from the Pennsylvania Academy of the Fine Arts in Philadelphia. During my time over there, I worked for the City of Philadelphia Mural Arts Program, which is the leading organization that produces thousands of murals. Yes, I give you a quick review of some of my personal work. I mean, that's what I briefly introduce myself. And those are some of my the murals that I have created in the recent years, since about 5 years ago, in different cities, here, Laredo, in Philadelphia, and also in Corpus Christi. That is some of my personal work, where you can see that I'm very passionate about conveying ideas about heritage, the border, and showing our beautiful colors. This is a mural that I created in North Central Park. It was me and Erica Guantello who designed it, and our students helped us at Alexander High School. And this is my most recent mural here in Laredo, Texas, that was created at the library in Alexander High School. That was thanks to the help of many students, and thanks to the technique that I'm using and that I'm proposing in this presentation that allows the community to be part of it. This is a mural that I did in Corpus Christi, and this is the after. And as you see, murals have the power to transform a place. They bring the community together, they foster civic beauty and pride. And in each of my jobs, I'm responsible for driving the heavy equipment, the aerial lift. So now, here's my design for the new mural in downtown El Abrazo. It represents unity, heritage, hope, and friendship between the sister cities of Laredo and Nuevo Laredo. It depicts the moment of embracing between our cities during the Washington birthday celebration festivities. Our international bridge becomes a meeting place instead of a crossing site or dividing line. In the moment of embracing, we become one. It symbolizes the mutual admiration and respect that our 2 countries and cities should have for one another. I know this is a powerful image that represents our community, Nuestra Hermandad con Nuevo Laredo, and this mural belongs in downtown. I would be grateful if I could have the opportunity to create this mural at the Rialto Hotel. And as you see, so what I'm using, that would be the size of the mural, 36 feet by 37 and a half. The main color, I have two options. So this is option one, and I'm open to both of them. So option one, it would be a mix of ultramarine blue with titanium white for the background. In the medium, I'm using a very high quality acrylic paint that's formulated for outdoor murals. And the technique is commonly known in Philadelphia as parachute cloth, which this is a technique that I learned during my time over there. It's called, it is polytap non-woven material. So panels will be installed when mural is complete, when it's painted, and it allows the community to be part of it, to participate in creating the mural. This technique has proven to withstand the elements over a period of 15 to 20 years. This is because we use paint specifically formulated for outdoor murals, and it has a lightness to ensure longevity of the colors. The font, I'm using Times Roman font for El Abrazo, and the size is about 2.5 feet by 10.5. And the title will be El Abrazo. So that's the option one. Secondary colors, this company is based in California, and like I stated, is made with a high-grade pure acrylic binder and is heavily saturated with the best pigments available. It's water-soluble when wet, dries permanent, and water-resistant. And I also have that available here in case you would like to see it. That's a color chart, and specifically of the colors that hopefully I will be using. This is another view from before and after. This is my option two. So this one, I was trying to look at the surroundings of the building, seeing the trimming of the windows to match the facade of what's already there. So this is using raw titanium white from Nova Color. That will be the color of the background. And the wall where I would like to paint the mural, that, in my understanding, that's a newer wall. It's not part of the original facade of the building, because there used to be a building right next to it, and then it had to be demolished. It was not safe at some point. So that later on in the 1990s, they went back and smoothed it out. So that's, and it's perfect. It's a smooth, no windows. It's just calling for, to be painted. Those are my secondary colors as well. It's the same list as the previous list. That's before and after. And my two options. Now I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Madam Chair, I just want to clarify, on the packet you have as an option to hot pink type of color. That's what the original submittal, but then Ms. Gonzalez changed the second option to the, earth tone kind of color.
Alejandrina, the staff recommendation is coming from what department?
Staff, it's planning department.
Planning
It's me.
department.
Mhm.
Okay. And it's 3 stories high?
Yes.
How are you adhering it to the wall?
It's a special glue. It's a Nova. It's specifically called Nova Matte Gel. It's formulated to adhere this type of fabric.
And what about removing it? What kind of damage would that cause to the brick after you, if once, let's say it had to be removed or was removed for some reason? How would the building be left?
Well, this is permanent. This is for something that's permanent. In case if at some point they decide, Mr. Tomas, the owner of the building, that he doesn't want the mural, like in 20 years or 25 years, then they can just paint over. So this
So it
take
would stay
me,
there, it would have to stay there.
But there is, in my understanding, that there was an adjacent building, so there is, it was a zero lot line, buildings were connected, so there is no break, I think they have a stucco finish on it, right?
that's correct.
Is that
You can
correct?
see- That's correct. On the pictures that we provided for that building, the current state, there's nothing on the wall.
It's just a clean canvas
Yes.
of,
There's no break.
yeah, just a stucco finish.
Mhm.
Which does the artist, like the most? Which,
Well, at first I was, going for the blue color just because I love contrast and that's what, usually my personal work reflects. But now, once I saw the cream color, it goes more with the surroundings and I'll be happy with either or. So I'm open.
Yeah, the more muted one would fit in with the environment.
For clarification, what is the designation on the building? It's got a marker on there, right?
What do you mean? It's a historic landmark, locally
landmark.
designated, yes.
state, yeah.
Mhm.
Is it
And
a
why was this building specifically chosen? Just because it had the wall or,
As you can see on the part of the submittal, it was decided by council and they had different buildings in mind and that they decided on this location and the property owner accepted that. So the
just
property
because
owner is the one
it's
that.
going on, on the opposite side of traffic, and it seems like such an invasive procedure on a historic landmark, in my opinion.
I agree.
I've got a comment and a question. Comment is, first of all, I commend the artist, great work and never difficult to paint to such a large scale. And, it's always nice to involve the arts. And then the question is more for staff. I know that there was prior on the signage ordinance, which is not issues that we discuss, but I remember there was an item that came up for the old Holding Institute where I think there was another artist that came up. Is there
ordinance-
language that we can implement for that or?
It is actually the approval for that sign ordinance, it's part of the packet. It's the exhibit B on your packets. Building department already
So it's
approved
Mhm.
this, as well as council. Council approved this mural, but,
Yeah. And
that's
to make sure
now
clear,
it's-
not that we're approving or not approving the artwork, I think it's great, just so we can have consistency with other people that come before the board.
this is the first time that after the amendment on the sign ordinance, this mural,
And it's been approved by city council.
that's correct.
Do we have any additional questions or comments?
And the ordinance is in the packet, I believe, right?
The approval from building department, which are the ones that review for ordinance compliance.
I know, but.
Selection should be by the artist.
So in other words, if this item is approved, it's approved under the new, it'll be the first one approved under the new ordinance
That's correct, within the historic
for
district.
the historic district.
But it says since only paint is involved, and paint is not only involved, it's a cloth that is being adhered to the building that will be there permanently. That's some.
That's a technique the artist is
Right,
choosing.
but the
and-
letter that I'm reading here says since paint is only involved, only paint is involved, and that is not the case. You know,
Yeah.
the way that it's worded, it's this first line, second sentence, because the proposed mural, no permit is required since only paint is involved.
That's their approval. It doesn't come before the board if it has not been reviewed by the building department.
What was submitted to the building department for,
The whole
For review.
submittal that we have on your packet.
because you do describe the fabric. on the
The
description.
mural was approved independently of what technique she will choose. And this is the technique that she's proposing.
I know, but the letter that we have says something else.
And it's a good point by Christina. I think in this case, since there's no brick behind it right now. I think the first picture shows the actual canvas because they had stucco to repair what was there before. They put stucco on that brick when they removed the other building, right?
What the property owner stated is that it was like an addition to that building, and when it was removed long time ago, they refinished
And that's why they
that
put
wall.
the stucco over
So
it.
it's always been
Yeah.
the stucco.
On the photographs, you can see how the, what would have been probably a parapet wall up against
Yeah,
the building
yeah.
is
Yeah, that's a good-
staggered. And I mean,
And since it
comes
was
out
zero
and
lot
it's-
line, it was
Yeah.
connected to it.
Yeah, you can see the edge of where the roof.
So it's
was
either,
attached.
it's either art on it or just paint on it.
Mhm.
Or in the future, something else that might be more in line with the Victorian style building, the Victorian building.
The historical piece of our community.
It's a landmark. That, if it were just any other building within the district, that my problem is that we should be protecting our landmarks, and that's my personal opinion on that. I mean, I think you have some beautiful work. My personal, opinion is that, we're here to protect certain landmarks, and if it were only paint, it'd be one thing, but since a fabric is being glued onto that permanently, that's the
concern.
concern with me.
And this fabric, once you apply it on the wall, it's very thin. It's not canvas, it's something else, it's something different. It almost feels, it's like the interface, like if you know about textiles or fabrics, it's called interface, especially how they build, the suits. So it's very thin. Once you apply it on any type of surface, it will take the shape of the wall. It will take that texture. So if it's a brick wall, it will look like you painted directly. So this is how the city of Philadelphia, which is the city known as the city of murals, they have 4,000 murals over the city. This is a technique that they use because they want to involve the community. They want to give that empowerment to the community too, so they can be part of it. And we talk about doing it at the farmers market because I know it's across the street and have people coming in and painting. Also, the Laredos NFLDRs, Rosie Santos, she's already, she would love to have people in there in the involvement. And also my former students from Alexander High School, they have told me that they would like to participate. And now many more people would like to do it as well.
I mean, I can understand, your justification, but, if we look at the ordinance, and we look at the stipulation about only paint, there is kind of a fine line, regarding the building and the manner in which this is going to be done.
Yeah, and then if this letter that was submitted, if they change it to be more specific to the technique that I'm using?
Clarification.
The application, because this is a technique that is not known here in Texas. It's something that it was developed in Philadelphia. Is what's happening right now, like in the major cities in the country, and that attracts people, because the mural that I did in Corpus Christi was created the same way with the same application. And
Was that on a landmark?
well, it was not. No, it wasn't downtown, but it was not part of the historical.
Were any of the murals in Philadelphia, done on a landmark building?
Well, I can do. I'm sure they're all over the city, because I know isn't the city of Philadelphia is known as the first of everything, and I see murals everywhere, and thousands of murals in the city.
And with respect to that, and I know you said, well, Philadelphia is a city of murals. That is something Laredo is not. We don't see murals in the downtown area. It is not part of the historical integrity of our downtown. And although I think that pop of color is a nice addition, I think that we have to kind of stick with what our own downtown fabric is actually has always encompassed, and that's never actually been murals. I do think that your piece would look great somewhere else, just not on that particular. It's just going to be so imposing. And if I'm not mistaken, it's not actually in a historic district, Alejandrina. It's just the actual building itself. It's the landmark itself. So that's so important to me that that building itself was designated, and it's not actually in a historic building.
Yeah.
So that, and I understand, I was actually there when they demolished the building right next door to it. Yes, I agree that that stucco wall is not the answer to that, but I don't think that putting a mural on it would make it any, and I think there might be a better place for that, somewhere where it won't be so intrusive on something that we should be protecting. But that's.
Well, for purpose of more discussion, the icon that you selected is something that people in Laredo recognize, and it's great. I think I think most of the board may feel the same way. That is, whatever action is taken is not on the artwork; is on the precedence on how to do it, because this is a project that is approved by the city and maybe city cooperation, but there's also private sector that may bring their own artwork.
Right.
So is there the precedence on that? Is there language that has been changed for, because I think you mentioned something about the signage, and are murals allowed now, or?
That's correct.
And,
That's the reason why the.
and who regulates the artwork on that? Is there the artwork itself? Who approves the artwork? Because we're not approving artwork right now, we're just approving the process of a historic building.
We're approving the mural, the mural is what it's being presented.
The
to you.
artwork also?
The mural did not, it was not part of the ordinance
Yeah.
before.
No, it is.
That's the
right.
reason why the.
Well, we're
the
lucky, I mean, this is
ordinance
she
was
did
amended.
great work. It's great work, it's an icon we all recognize, but in order for this board to have precedence and another member that comes in, there's also private sector, and I think everyone has called themselves artists also, so it's hard to regulate what type of work goes there and what is, objective or subjective to our
I think
lives.
what he's asking, was there another committee that approved the actual artwork?
Well,
Is that what, is
I mean,
that,
I would like to.
It was council.
it was chosen by
council.
city council?
And I personally like the artwork, but in the future, who makes a decision on that? Especially private sector coming in and doing artwork.
If it's within this district, you do.
The actual content of the
And
artwork.
in light
Yes.
of that, I've been reading the guidelines, and I don't see any mention under signage for murals or anything that would
Again,
address it.
murals were
So I
not
think we need
considered
to
before.
update the guidelines
Good point.
to be able to address murals one way or the other, because it's not in our guideline.
Well, the guidelines are from 1996.
Yes.
So
Yes.
they do,
That's
we
what they
do
we need to
know
update, yeah.
that it
Well,
needs
the
to
other
be
thing we're
updated.
facing right now is
Because
that
if we treat it as a sign, and all the size exceeds the location.
The ordinance
Yeah, And
specifically
it-
states that a mural is not considered a sign, even though it's part of the sign ordinance.
right,
So it's very specific.
right. So I was looking
And
at all the
that's out of
possibilities.
our jurisdiction.
Right. But I was looking at all the categories under the guidelines, and so there's signage, there's, new construction.
Again, this is
Yeah,
the type of art that is being introduced.
And
The city's trying to
And
introduce,
so
especially
there's
within the
many kinds of
downtown
art.
area.
Did you, I'm sorry, did you get to work with our arts commission? We have a city art, commission on arts. Did you get to talk with them? You're not from Laredo though, right?
well, I was living here. I just recently moved to Corpus Christi.
Okay, so but you're originally from Laredo?
Yes, I was part of the meetings when we were trying to change the wording on the ordinance for the sign to make it, because that's something that, Laredo, the city of Laredo is behind.
Madam Chair, Ms. Solis is the liaison for that committee, and she can provide you with some background.
We did have a grants mural project where we had several artists that submitted. We had 7 submittals. Unfortunately, Ms. Gonzalez was not selected. 2 others were selected, and the reason being is there was not sufficient funds.
I guess, back to what Ms. Fonseca is saying, yes, the guidelines are dated and there's nothing that we can actually refer to in the guidelines at the moment. But if they are gonna be introduced into the downtown area, then we need to be, if we're gonna be voting on that, then we need to either get in on that conversation so that we know what to do in situations like this, because right now we have nothing to follow, as far as, we need to be included in that conversation. And I get that city council approved it, but are they approving it with the idea of what our board's mission is on top? You know, they've kind of said, well, we approved it, but are they considering what we are supposed to be doing as a board? So it puts us in a weird situation.
Well, it's something that you can actually, you're representing council right now.
Right.
So
Yeah, but-
it's something that you can have that conversation with council.
The thing is that if council's voted on it, if this board, I'm not saying it will, but if it denied the artwork,
It goes to council.
but they've already taken action on it, they've
Yes,
already
they have.
approved it,
That's
so you
correct.
can't override it anymore, it's already taken action, so really this board is really, whatever the vote
But
takes.
it's important for us to also, if it is denied or approved, that way they understand
Yeah.
what our position
Well, and
on
maybe
it
they should
is.
take the first step here.
Right.
But they've
It
already
was-
taken action.
Right. It
But
was-
I do want to say that it's a case-by-case situation because this one does have, the first photograph, to me, it just shows a canvas. It's a plain canvas that's there. It's not the case for all of them. I do know the fabric that goes on brick also, which Christina made some good points because what happens to taking it off in the future? But the fabric, what it does, and when there is brick, this one doesn't have brick there anymore, is that you see the delineation of the brick on it. So it seems like it's painted. But getting back to Christina's comments, removal in the future.
Well, I looked into the Texas Historical Commission, and they have mention of murals. But they've also mentioned the materials that are used and how they're adhered to the wall. So I think we need to research that category and make us, have either an amendment to the guidelines or,
Yeah,
some kind of
Definitely.
documentation with parameters.
yeah. No, I think it needs to be amended for
So
that.
I think we need more
Constitution.
time to be able to vote on it. Yeah.
And let me just add, the WBCA, they also aware, they were there at the first, when I presented this to the city council back in May 20. So they came and the president, Mr. Blair, he wants to be part of the decisions and they approved, he owns the copyright of El Abrazo children. So he already approved it and he's happy with the idea. And I know Mr. Tomás Izaguirre, he has been wanting a mural, like on
Right.
that part of the wall.
And it's not so much the content of the mural that is being called into question. It's more or less how it's being executed that is, the issue at this point.
Yeah, and let me read what, in this particular case, on this project, they indicated typically murals were first painted on canvas, then adhered to walls. But more authentic processes required the artist to paint directly on wet plaster, bon fresco, or the dry plaster wall, fresco seco. These were techniques more familiar to European painters working centuries earlier than to someone like Texan artist. And then go on to describe the artist. So that might be more in keeping with historic buildings. So I think we need to,
Yeah.
I would recommend tabling the item, not taking action one way or the other, so that we can make the appropriate.
Yeah, this is not time sensitive, is it?
No,
Yes.
well, I'm sorry.
Yes, it is.
On whose timeline?
They wanted to have it done before the festivities in
Oh, I see.
February. I don't know if that's possible at this point, but that was what was recommended.
I mean, is there something that I can do, like to provide information about this technique, examples? Because I know they have, because they have been doing it for many years now in Philadelphia. They know it will be there like from 15 to 20 years.
Yeah.
It
Right,
will
but I-
withstand the elements.
That-
But I guess if
that
you could,
helps,
I'm sorry, if you could show us a historical building in Philadelphia,
Okay.
a landmark building that has a mural.
And how it was installed and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because if that's an issue, the application, then I can easily paint it on the wall. Because my proposal for this, because I wanted to include the community, because I have been a witness of how important that is for the people to be part of it. And it's open to all ages. Right now, I'm working on a large mural in Corpus Christi. And I would love to do one here in Laredo, because this is my hometown. But yeah, this technique,
let me interrupt you for a minute.
Mhm.
Alejandrina, has this been submitted to the Texas Historical Commission for approval?
No.
No. Is it required,
No.
As a landmark.
even though it's going to, it's the exterior and it's gonna change the exterior?
No, it's not. It's not required. It's just required to be brought before the historic board. And again, I mean, you have the option to either embrace the idea or deny it.
Right now, with just the sensitivity of the surface of the exterior and what this glue, permanent glue would do to it, I would recommend that that the artist consider doing it on a wall, a material that can be installed, that can always be taken down.
Ms. Fonseca, what I would like for you to understand is this, what it's being proposed is what it's in front of you.
Mhm.
I mean, it's up to you to deny or approve the item, but this is being treated as art.
Mhm.
We cannot demand or, ask the artist to change something that
but
council
I'm
already
sorry.
approved the way she presented.
I
But she's
disagree
not- she's
because
not-
we're
I don't think- I don't
talking
think
about
she's-
the
yeah, she-
attachment to the wall.
Yeah, I don't think she's disapproving the artwork, it's the process
The
of it.
attachment.
And I know
But
this is
that's
the
what-
way it's being presented, but when you say it's being presented as paint. And there is an adhesive back to it, which I'm not saying it's a bad thing either, but I think it's just for clarification. But the THC, they usually do provide a letter of recommendation, it's a simple submission to them.
Mhm.
And no right.
Especially on the Main Street program, what are their recommendations? Those, all the Main Street programs around the whole state of Texas all deal with downtown.
Because I don't think the
Historic
issue
districts,
is
so a lot of
this, it's really the precedents that we're creating for
Right,
other
right.
artwork.
That's, I think that's my concern. I would like time to talk to my councilman about this. I saw that he seconded the motion. I would like time to talk to him to see if he fully, was aware of what this technique would do to this historic, and it was a
Mr.
historical
Bailey?
landmark building.
Oh, he knows, yeah.
It was presented
Charlie.
to the council, as she's presenting to you,
Right.
she presented to them.
Right, but I'd just like an opportunity to talk to Councilman Bettis about it in more detail.
What happens after
Actually,
20
he
years?
co-sponsored the
That's a
item.
good question.
Yeah, that's a good
Yes.
question.
Yeah.
What happens after the 20 years? Does it deteriorate or does it need a retouch? Or?
It fades away, basically. At some point, it will be a little faded, but it will look like if you paint it on the wall. And then if the owner or the city decide that they just want to paint it back how it was, and they can just paint it over.
But they would have to paint over the fabric or take off the fabric?
No, just paint over. Because this fabric would take the texture of the wall. It would be like if it was painted directly. It's very innovative process that they created. And like I said before, it was because, they did it because of the harsh winters in Philadelphia. And they had to paint indoors. But now they use it for community involvement. And it's really helpful. I mean,
And
it brings a lot of
fabric will withstand our temperatures, our climate?
Yes, yes. Mhm.
Just wanted to point out, it was Councilman Bali's item, but it was co-sponsored by Councilman San Miguel and Perez.
Right, I saw that.
I'm gonna just indicate that the Texas Historical Commission Main Street program has an article on the city of Harlingen. So the Harlingen Main Street program has murals, and it indicated, be clear about what you want to accomplish with your mural program. Set goals, put them on paper and stick to them. In 2003, when the Harlingen Convention and Visitors Bureau, Downtown District, Historical Preservation Society, and Keep Harlingen Beautiful joined together to create new murals, these partners set goals that addressed each organization's respective needs. 10 years later, the partners have changed, but the goals endure. And then they list 4 of the goals, so.
We all need to
I
get
think
on the
that's-
same goal.
Yes, I
Yes.
think that's all we're saying.
Yes, that we all need to get on the same page as far as what the ordinance means, what our mission is, and how we are able to incorporate these murals. Yeah.
Ms. Sanchez, what are the ramifications? Let's say hypothetically, the board denies the
It
permit.
goes to
Then they go
council.
to council, and then council.
Council already approved it.
Yeah, that's the thing that, I mean, you take it to council to override the item when it's
that's
not
why
approved, but it's already,
ordinance-
you see, the council doesn't have to take that up again because it's already been approved.
Right, yeah.
So
Well,
it's-
no, if it's denied, yes, it goes back to
But they've
council.
already taken action on it. So
I
you're bringing
can't-
the item back to council to take action again, so
Can't tell you how council is.
I guess you
gonna-
understand my
But I
concept
don't
that
think
you
we're
take it to override.
But I think that however we treat this, whether it goes back to council
This
or
is different
not,
language.
it's very important that they understand where this board is coming from. And it opens up that conversation to say, hey, if you're gonna be approving this, you need to realize that the board that it's gonna go to for approval, that oversees
Yeah.
this, has some concerns about this,
Yeah.
but I.
My point being is
yeah.
that the council is the appeal process for this board,
Yes.
and they've already taken action on this issue.
I just,
Well, I was recommending tabling it because I don't think we're prepared to,
That's a good.
move in favor or against it. We just need the right structure and the right, goals and outline.
There
of
was no
what's-
other proposed buildings?
We had others, the Southern Hotel, what I think is also like a historical building.
Yes.
But that one, it was just complicated. It was a really good location, but then it had the windows, so the city had to do extra work. But this is they asked me like, what was my preference? I said, well, that's the perfect building. The owner really has been wanting a mural for many years now, and he was very happy when I talked with him about this proposal, about this idea.
And there's a canvas,
Yes, it's like just waiting, like to be painted. Yeah.
but, it's just a precedence that we need to talk about.
I think that's the big issue, is that we're setting a precedent here. We need to really be on board and I feel like have more conversation with our councilmen members to just make them aware of what our concerns are, just so they don't feel we're going against them, but we're just trying to do what we're here to do,
Yes, I
protect these
understand.
buildings.
But again, if you can bring us some example of an historic building, preferably, or not preferably, but it should be a locally designated landmark or a state of Pennsylvania designated landmark building in Philadelphia. So we can see what it looks like and what the ramifications were.
On, in other meetings that we've run into a situation where additional time is needed or additional information, we often consider a special meeting in order to be able to address it prior to our next scheduled meeting. Can we get consensus if?
Is that something that can happen next week?
What's the earliest that we could have a?
We have to send the letters again. We need the 10 days prior to the meeting to send the letters and let people know that
I thought
there
it
was
was,
no,
I thought it was 72 hours notice.
that's for the posting then.
For the posting.
I'm talking for
then-
the 200 notices that we sent to property owners within the 200 feet.
Did you get replies back on those notices?
I only got one, but for the other case.
But then that would put us right at Thanksgiving,
Chairman,
so.
I think that if you opted to table the item like you suggested, that would be the best thing for us to figure out, give us all time to figure out what the next steps would be. But I think, as you stated earlier, probably based on the discussion, it sounds like.
So what's the
your
earliest,
recommendation would be the best.
if there was a special call meeting, what's the earliest that we could have a special call?
10
The
days.
Thursday after Thanksgiving, because if Thanksgiving hadn't fallen on within that time frame, it would have been that Thursday.
Well, the meeting could be pushed before that, it doesn't have to be.
10 days, you said? 10 days from tomorrow would be the 19th, November 19th.
It's a city council
But
So we could have
meeting. City
it
council meeting.
on Tuesday, the 20th.
Yes. We should do that and request any information that we need for the meeting, or people need to be here. That way we can give the artists a chance to bring in any of the information that the board is asking for. That's if there's no action taken today.
Can we have a consensus if we will have a quorum from everyone present here for either Monday the 19th, Tuesday the 20th,
Wednesday.
or
Not
Wednesday the
Monday.
21st?
Tuesday is a good day.
Tuesday or Wednesday?
I could do either day.
I could do Wednesday.
I could do Monday or Tuesday.
Monday, they said there's a city council, so we'll have to,
Tuesday.
Tuesday or Wednesday.
Show of hands.
Show of hands for Tuesday?
Is it for noon?
I need five, all the special meetings are at 12.
Okay.
12 noon.
Yeah, I won't be able to.
So show of hands for Tuesday at
Can we
noon?
vote on that right now, or should be action taken on the table in the item?
I think you
I
should
think we should vote.
take a motion on the item first.
Yeah, that way we can-
And then,
Okay,
Have it.
do I have a motion?
So moved.
can you close the public hearing, please?
Yes, let me have a motion to close the public hearing.
I move to close the public hearing.
A second,
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, do I have a motion to take action on this item?
I move to table the item. Right?
Second. Second.
Well, before we do that, just comment, thank you for the artists for being here and your involvement with the arts. It's great for the city of Laredo.
Well, thanks for allowing me to be here to present it. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a motion, all in favor?
Who's second? You don't have second yet.
Who is the second? I
I
make
was
a,
second.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Show of hands?
Well, okay.
Okay, so the motion passes.
Madam Chairman, do you want to set a date for that special call?
Yes, can we show of hands, in order to have a quorum for a special meeting on Tuesday, November 20th at noon? So show of hands, availability? We've got 4. How about Wednesday, the 21st? We've got 4 also.
Okay.
When you-
Actually, if you're going to be here, do you teach? Because I know you had said something about, are you going to be off that, this is Thanksgiving week. Are you
Yeah.
going to be off?
I will be off that week. Any day works for me.
Thanksgiving, actually, I'll be available that week, so yes. I forgot about
Oh,
that.
you're not-
Yes, yes,
You'll
thank
be
you
off.
for reminding me. Yes,
Okay,
I'll be
so
available.
either Tuesday
Tuesday
Yes,
or
or
Madam
Wednesday, doesn't
Chairman,
matter.
we can ask Alejandrina to look for the soonest date that we can have it, and then ask the members who's available for those days.
Well, no, I need your confirmation to make arrangements to look for the room and to bring it to.
Thing is, not all
I
the board
know
members are
that
here.
we're gonna have a quorum in order to
Yes,
schedule.
to
it.
set, schedule
Ask
meetings.
the dates again, 'cause just
Okay,
said
let
we would
me
check.
ask again on the dates. Tuesday, the 20th, show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wednesday, the 21st.
And we can vote again.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So either day works. So we have availability of Tuesday and Wednesday to have a quorum. The 20th.
20 or 21st.
Okay. I wanna see, then I have to send the letters. And from what I see, the posting would have to be tomorrow in order to have either one of those days before
And
Thanksgiving.
that'll give you 14 days.
Yeah,
You include weekends?
so I will need to send the letters tomorrow
Say.
for the 20th. As long as I have the
I think,
confirmation that
yeah, I think
we
this
have
helps
quorum.
clarify a lot of the
Yes.
questions and concerns.
Yes, and
So
in the
as-
meantime, I'll look
Yeah.
into the comments that I made, to get some answers from Texas Historical Commission or the downtown
Maybe
Main
they
Street
wanna reach
program.
out to them and see what, yeah.
Yeah, I'll call Sharon Fleming.
Yeah.
So, and any of you, please.
Anything that needs to be
if you have
addressed by
Any
by staff,
research
we can
that
send
you
it to
all can
staff.
do also to bring to the discussion.
I guess I can see what Philadelphia did
Mhm.
and what building.
If any, you can contact someone.
Yeah, I know Olivia Willis from the National Trust, she's one of the four, she's from Fort Worth, but she has contacted all over the place.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn, it is 6:45.
Second?
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Aye, thank
Aye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. I gotta go.
Okay.
I gotta go on my iPad.
We've been up early.